Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Talks with the ARC Trust webinar series. My name is Sarah Geis, and I'm the Senior Director of Engagement for the ARC Master Trust, a program of the ARC of Indiana. I want to thank you all for watching our webinar series. And as a reminder, all of our webinars are recorded and are available on our website to view at any time. To view other webinars in this series, you can visit thearctrust.org and click on the webinar and videos button in the banner. In today's webinar, we will be talking about Miller Trusts, what they are, when they are needed, and how one can be established. We'll also look at some frequently asked questions around Miller Trusts and an example template on to establish the trust. So what is a Miller Trust? If you've seen our previous webinars, you'll probably know that there are savings options like special needs trusts and ABLE accounts that are used to shield additional financial resources to protect someone's eligibility for government benefits. Miller trusts are used to shield additional income. For individuals who are receiving Medicaid in certain circumstances, to remain eligible for their Medicaid benefits, they need to make sure that they are below a specific income threshold. This is sometimes known as a special income limit. This number can change per year, and a helpful way to remember what the limit is that it is always 300% of the maximum monthly SSI payment. So this year, the maximum monthly SSI payment is $994 per month, which makes the special income limit $2,982 per month. The Family Social Services Administration, or FSSA, does have a lot of helpful documentation on their website about Miller Trusts, how to determine the special income limit, and templates to establish this type of trust. The link on this page to the FSSA website is where you can go to learn more information. For a Miller Trust to be necessary for you, you need to be receiving Medicaid benefits and live in an institutionalized setting, such as a nursing home, or receive a home and community-based services waiver. This is a waiver like the Family Support Waiver or the CIH waiver. If you are receiving Medicaid benefits but do not meet this criteria, you might not need a Miller Trust. If you do meet this criteria, any income you earn over $2,982 must go into a Miller Trust to protect your benefit eligibility. FSSA does define income as your gross unearned income. This is Social Security, your gross earned income, any net self-employment income, and if you are a landlord, the net rental income. You do not need to deposit the total amount that you earn into a Miller Trust, only the dollar amount that is above the special income limit. A Miller Trust can only be used for paying for what Medicaid calls the share of cost of the beneficiary's medical expenses related to their long-term care. This can include medical bills not paid by Medicaid, Medicare premiums, and nursing home expenses incurred by the beneficiary not covered by Medicaid or other insurances. There are some states that say if a Medicaid recipient is married and their non-applicant spouse, also called the community spouse, has little to no income, a monthly maintenance needs allowance can be paid to that spouse from the Miller Trust. This spousal income allowance is intended to prevent the community spouse from the inability to support themselves. While this figure does vary by state and by circumstances, in most cases, there is a maximum payout per month. And we would recommend referring to the FSSA website about this information. Individuals in nursing homes also have another option to protect additional income called a resident funds management system. The system still must meet all the requirements for a Miller Trust. This means that it must be for a single individual, only hold monthly deposits of income, and only be used to pay for allowable deductions and healthcare expenses. If it is easier for the individual living in a nursing home to have the resident funds management system be utilized over a Miller Trust, this is an allowable option. So how do we get a Miller Trust set up? The first step in establishing a valid Miller Trust is to create the trust document and ensure that it complies with the requirements. To qualify as a valid Miller Trust, the trust document must have the following characteristics. The assets placed in the trust must be the beneficiary's income only. Only the beneficiary's income can be deposited into the Miller Trust. The trust needs to be irrevocable, and the trust must include language that refers to Medicaid estate recovery, and that the trust must be properly executed, and that is that it has to have all of the necessary signatures on the appropriate lines of the trust document. Once you have created the trust document and that it meets these requirements, you then need to set up a financial account for this trust. This can be done through a bank or other financial institution like a credit union. You may use an existing account as long as the account is only used to deposit income, but you might need to open a new bank account if an existing account includes money from sources other than income. You can use an existing joint account for a Miller Trust. The benefit of doing this would be to have a second account owner for management purposes. However, this can be tricky. If a joint account is used and another person's income is deposited into that account, or if withdrawals are made for non-qualifying expenses, the joint account would not qualify as an appropriate account for a Miller Trust. If a joint account holder is on the account for convenience and does not use the account for the joint account holder's personal use, the account can be used. If you do need to open a new account, some financial institutions may require small deposits as initial funding. A small amount of the beneficiary's money may be deposited into the new account in order to open it. The money that a bank requires as a deposit to open a new account is not counted as a resource or income to the beneficiary. Once the account is open, you can start depositing income into that trust account. Finally, documentation should be sent to FSSA to show that a Miller Trust has been established and that the income is being deposited. The next couple of slides do show the template that is available on the FSSA website to establish a Miller Trust. The next 3 slides are the full template, which means that the template is only 3 pages long. When we are talking about the name of the beneficiary, that is referring to the individual whose income is going into the Miller Trust. Sometimes the Miller Trust is also known as a qualified income trust. So if you see qualified income trust or QIT, know that this is another name for a Miller Trust. When we are talking about settlor, the settlor is the person who establishes the trust. This is typically the Medicaid applicant and recipient. However, if the applicant or recipient's legal guardian, attorney in fact, which is a power of attorney, or Medicaid authorized representative may serve as the settlor instead. This is page 2 of the document. And this is page 3 of the document. Miller Trusts are a unique aspect of protecting income, and I've included on this slide some frequently asked questions about Miller Trusts. One frequently asked question is asking if the state will send Medicaid recipients a notice about the amount of funds that need to be deposited into a Miller Trust. The answer is no. The state might send notice to individuals who need a Miller Trust, but they will not do the calculation to determine how much an individual's income needs to be deposited. Income does need to be deposited in the month that the income was received, but that does not need to be on the first of the month. So if an individual's income is received towards the beginning of the month, the individual does have the entirety of that month to deposit their necessary income into that Miller Trust. Templates on how to establish a Miller Trust are available on the FSSA website, but FSSA does recommend that you have the forms reviewed or completed with the assistance of an attorney. Thank you all again for watching, and we hope that you've found this informative. If you have questions or would like to learn more, please feel welcome to visit us at our website or contact us via email or phone. You are also welcome to join us on social media to learn more.